A Fed rate hike could prove costly for the ringgit. For more on what could lie ahead for the currency, joining us now on set is Jameel Ahmad, Chief Market Analyst for ForexTime. Now, we just heard Michael Hassenstab of Franklin Templeton say there is good value in the ringgit. Do you share the view?
I think that the ringgit, there is quite a strong argument that the currency has been oversold, but what I think investors also have to realize is that the pressure on the ringgit, it comes from a variety of different directions. You've got US interest rate anticipation, you've got slowing growth in Malaysia, you've got depressed commodity prices and the impact this could have on emerging market sentiment. Then on top of this, you've got China concerns and how this can then add further downside pressures to Malaysia. I think that now it's not just strictly correlated to US interest rate optimism, so it's becoming a little bit more difficult to argue whether the currency is oversold or actually undervalued.
Now, Hassenstab in his interview today also said that Malaysia's central bank has been acting very responsibly. Now, given that the OPR has been on hold for some time now, do you agree with this position, or do you think there's a move in either direction?
I personally think that there's a couple of options the central bank could take to strengthen the currency. Now, intervening in the markets, it's not such an option because reserves are low. And also, let's say these were external pressures that contributed towards the ringgit decline. Now, if these external pressures return and they accelerate, let's say Bank Negara using their reserves, they have less ammunition. But one of the major concerns for a weaker currency is that it's going to increase inflation pressures. Now, what I'm saying, on my opinion, is that actually the Bank Negara, if they wanted to strengthen the currency, if they wanted to encourage investment back in towards Malaysia, capital inflows, they could actually take the option to raise interest rates.
And this would see more investment flows, but what about cutting US dollar deposits?
That would be a very controversial move, but yes, this is another option a central bank could take. I mean, we have seen this in emerging market other economies, such as in Nigeria, and it's largely been reported to be encouraged in Indonesia. Now, it's an option, but would it be a popular one?
And looking at the way the ringgit is performing today, it's settling at 422 against the dollar. Quite some momentum there, given that we had Janet Yellen give some support to the speculation over a rate hike in December. ECB tonight. How do you think the ringgit's going to play out for this week?
You know, this one's interesting because I don't know, when we last spoke in September in Dubai, we spoke about the ringgit stabilizing around this 440 to 450 region. Now, so far, a couple of months later, we haven't fallen further. But what I think is a US interest rate rise is largely been priced into the markets. There will be some initial demand for the dollar, extra demand, when they do raise rates, and most people expect it to be this month. But what's most important to look out for and watch as an investor is the sentiment towards the commodity markets, which means this OPEC announcement later this week is going to be very important.
And the correlation with the ringgit there, of course.
Absolutely. It's not so much, I don't think that commodity exports is such a huge contribution to the Malaysian economy as what's been priced into the ringgit. However, it can impact the investor sentiment towards the emerging markets because a multiple different variety of these economies are reliant on commodity exports.
Now, Hassenstab also spoke of emerging markets seeing recovery potentially after a Fed rate liftoff. Do you share this view?
I think that what this argument is that when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates once, they're not going to do it for some time, because what they keep telling us, and they've been telling us throughout the whole of this year, that the cycle of interest rate rises, the pace, will be very slow. They're going to be cautious and hesitant. So I think what this argument might be pointing towards is that they might be one and done, or raise rates once and then not for a couple of months, and this might encourage investors to take profit on the dollar.
And the conversation in the market now is that the risk premium for Malaysian assets is coming down, especially given the sort of resolution we are seeing on the political front. For example, just today, the parliament, they heard more about this political donation in Prime Minister Najib Razak's accounts. Do you think this will help build optimism?
It should build some optimism, because one of the things that did impact the ringgit or contributed towards the decline was actually this possible government investment scandal and how this could have weighed on investor confidence, both domestically and internationally. So if this story starts to subside, moves away, then there would be more potential for the ringgit as well.
Now, taking a look at the broader space here, China, we spoke to the conference board and they said, hey, looking at the real numbers behind China's growth, they're much lower than the official forecast. So given the linkages between China and Malaysia, how do you see things playing out then in 2016?
You know, this China story is fascinating because somebody who travels to China regularly, I can see that slowing growth for China so far is not such a problem for the domestic economy itself. Its domestic economy sentiment is still strong. People in China are not concerned. But all of these economies that were reliant on trade with China, these are the ones who are going to have to suffer the pressure. So there's concerns that any economy that was reliant on exporting to China, they're going to start to notice reduced demand from China for their products. Now, this is where there could be an economic pressure that is established onto Malaysia.
So you're expecting an uptick in exports tomorrow?
Trade data is important. I do think that the weaker ringgit has helped export competitiveness. It has helped maybe some foreign direct investment. I mean, we've seen this previously to trade balances that have come out. The exports have been really strong. But you know what, Sophie, what I'm really looking out for is the import data. See if consumers are still spending, or if the weaker ringgit is actually prohibiting them and preventing consumers to invest from abroad.
All right, that private consumption story. Thank you so much, Jameel, for joining us. Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon around the set. That was Jameel Ahmad, Chief Market Analyst for ForexTime.